Hello and welcome to This Inspired Life. My name is Andy Taylor, and in this video we're going to start the process of putting some of the pieces together. Right now, so far in the videos that I've published up to now, we've talked about individual elements of creating a life by design and living a life that makes you go, wow. Right, so what we're going to start today is we're going to start piecing two of those together, which are really fundamental. Now, the ones that we're going to look at are the last two that we talked about. So we're going to consider goal setting, if you insist on using those terms, and also our interpretation of reality. So you remember the last video that I published, we talked about reality and how we are always creating our own realities, okay? So part of this is going to sound slightly surreal, and it does involve me bringing to light one of my biggest bugbears, I suppose, with the personal development space. And it's not by way of a rant, it's just by way of demonstration. So consider for a moment, I mean, I'm a student of Tony Robbins. I've been to Unleash the Power Within twice, 3 times actually, once as an attendee and twice as a crew member. And different things struck me at different times. When I was an attendee, I was already a coach, so I kind of went with a view more to see how Tony Robbins interact with a big audience than anything else. And as a crew member, I saw behind the curtain, if you like. If you imagine going to a magic show as a kid, and then, excuse me, as you become an adult, you start to work for the magician, so you see behind the curtain. And it wasn't a pleasant experience, because I got to see firsthand the nature of the business side of the Tony Robbins thing. Now, I'm going to say straight off the bat that this video is going to prove unpopular with some of my friends who are big Tony Robbins fans, and I appreciate your opinion and I respect your opinion. So if I lose friends because of this, I lose friends. But back to today and back to the importance of this is the fact that as a result of being a Tony Robbins student, we're all kind of thrown into this mix. And there are groups on Facebook and on Twitter and everywhere else for Tony Robbins students and alumni. And in part of those groups, one particular one is a relationship group, and people are always asking questions, and they're always phrased very specifically. And it's a case of, right, I've been experiencing this, this, and this in my life, and I want to know you guys' opinion. So what do you think of the situation? Now, if I had $1 for every time I heard the following words that I'm going to share with you, or equivalents or something similar, then I would be able to happily spend the rest of my days on my own very private, personal, deserted, Caribbean island with my fiance. Tony says, or Tony Robbins says, or what Tony says is, any variety of those things. Now, I've got no beef with Tony Robbins. As a coach, he has some great content and he puts it out there. But he is the epitome of what I've referred to in previous videos as coaches who are becoming better marketers and salespeople than they are coaches. So he's a big name in the industry, so you might think it's easy for me to take pot shots at him. And I'm not. Because I respect him as a coach and I respect him as a man and what he's achieved and what he does for the communities that he works in. But the reason that's important today, and the reason I mention it in this video, is because it is indicative of what I'm going to share with you now, and that is the fact that we create our own realities. We talked about that in the last video, about the fact that we live in this matrix of an illusion of reality based on input that we receive if we don't consciously think about it. Now, no more is that evident than if your peers, if your mentor, if your hero believes a certain thing to be true and shares that opinion, then if you are a big enough fan, or if you are influenced enough by that individual, you will adopt the same beliefs, right? Whether they're your beliefs or not. you will think, well, if so-and-so says this and so-and-so believes this, then it's got to be true. We all do it at some point in time. We all respect people who share a particular opinion or have a particular opinion, and we instantly share it, right? Whether or not we've been able to go out ourselves and gather the information to back that shit up, we instantly jump on the bandwagon, if you like. So, like I said, this is not a pot shot at Tony Robbins. There are many other people like that. But the problem is not them. The problem is the misunderstanding that the masses have, that even if they have an opinion or how their version of reality is X, doesn't mean to say yours is going to be. Okay? You don't have to jump on the bandwagon and immediately share their version of reality. Life is not like that. You will have your own challenges. You will have your own insights. You will have your own aha moments, your eureka moments. But so many people I see, and it frustrates me a little bit, so many people I see completely ignore the flashes of brilliance that come into their own head, the flashes of inspiration, the flashes of insight, in favor of jumping on a bandwagon and believing something different. And what happens is that they create their version of reality based on what is essentially a fallacy. Okay? It may be true for somebody, but it's not true for them. But because they're so indoctrinated is a kind of severe word, but I'm going to use it because they're so indoctrinated by that belief and that set of individuals who believe this thing. They're so indoctrinated into that belief system that they adopt it as their own version of reality without thinking for a second, is this true for me? And the second that if they were to only do that, if they just only step back and say, well, okay, so, person X, person Y believe this, and, I respect them and I respect their opinion, but is this true for me? It may not be. Chances are it won't be. But because it's easier to just hop on a bandwagon and go along for a ride than to actually dig deep and get really reflective and to start building and constructing your own mental construct of what reality is for you, people do it all the time. Where that becomes a major, major issue, other than in itself it's a major issue, is when we talk about, and this is the second reference that I'm going to use that we've talked about in a previous video, and that is goal setting. Now, I've shared my own opinions on goal setting and why they don't work for me and what I do instead. So when I say goal setting, what I mean is setting outcomes that you want to achieve. Is the fact that I explained in that video that the outcome objective project system, the process that I follow, or the goal setting process that you might follow, relies on two pieces of information in order to set a path to get you to where you want to go. Number one, it needs to know where you want to go. And number two, it needs to know where you are now, right? So if we're talking about creating a better version of reality for you that makes you wake up every morning enlivened, emboldened, full of energy, full of life, and living to your fullest potential every day, a life that makes you go, wow. In order to achieve that, your starting off point needs to be your reality. So what you see as your reality. Okay, so we need to be able to create a reality that's great for us so that then we can pursue our desired outcomes. We can set our objectives and we can establish the projects that we work on daily in order to get there. So it becomes an issue when people who haven't got the commitment or don't have the energy or just too lazy to really ask that question, if they see a set of beliefs that somebody's expounding on the internet or on courses or books or programs or whatever, that they're expounding their reality. And so many people don't get that they adopt it for their own. And it could be completely wrong. It could be 100% polar opposite to what they would actually believe if they just stopped and asked the question, is this true for me? So the importance of it cannot be underestimated, because if you imagine setting a goal or establishing a desired outcome, that's part one of the GPS equation. Excuse me. Choking. Excuse me. If you set your goal or your outcome, excuse me. Oh dear, that was a bad one. From a place of a reality that you've created for yourself or you've adopted for yourself that is not your own, then you are only ever going to be setting other people's goals. You're only ever going to be establishing other people's outcomes, right? So inevitably, you're going to get exceptionally disappointed when you reach there and you are no more fulfilled. And this brings me on to a third point that I want to make today, which is the really important difference between setting a goal and establishing an outcome, right, is the fact that people focus on the goal. They constantly focus on their goal. Once you set it, once you program your GPS, do you ever, if you're in a car, let's say you're in a car and you're using a GPS, do you ever think for a second that, you know, you're on your way to a hospital appointment, but you don't know where it is, so you're setting the hospital as your destination? The appointment is still in place. Is there any point along the journey where you think, I don't want to go there anymore? Right? No, very rarely. Okay, unless external circumstances happen, it's often, you know, it's never going to happen, right? Yet so many people do. It's almost as if they keep checking in with their goal to make sure it's still their goal. And the sad thing is, and crazy as it might sound, so many great coaches out there who have courses and programs and books and materials on goal setting suggest that that's what they should be doing. You're always checking with your goal, make sure it's the right goal for you. Fuck that. No. Once you have an outcome and you create an outcome which is the life that you want to live, okay? The detail is for later. But for now, we want to just set that outcome. So we want to have an outcome, and you want it to be clear enough to be compelling, but not set in stone, right? We were talking about this in the goal setting video, where it's a case of, right, you really do need to just create an outcome that is compelling enough to get you off your ass and to get you started, but not set in stone enough that should you be some way towards it and think, well, actually, no, I prefer this. You can just change it. You can just basically say, okay, well, this, my desired outcome has now become this, or now incorporates this, right? It's so much easier. But there's so much out there that says about you have to set a crystal clear, perfect vision of a goal, specific thing. No, you can, but it doesn't work well, because we are creatures of change. We are inevitably going to receive something along the way, whether it's bad news, information, or a change in direction that forces us to re-establish our goal. And if you keep a fixed goal in mind and you're pulled away over there, the path to it becomes so much more complicated, and we get disheartened, we get run down. So when you set your desired outcome, it's important to remember that it is just that, and just forget it. So that's your desired outcome, and then forget it. So establish your desired outcome, establish the objectives you need to achieve in order to get there, and the projects you need to complete in order to achieve your objectives that will get you to your desired outcome. But then spend no more time or energy focusing on the outcome. Enjoy the journey. It's about the journey, okay? Nobody looks forward to death, okay? It's safe to say it's got a bit morbid, admittedly, but hey, nobody looks forward to death. We are in this journey from being born to being dead. Okay, nobody's looking forward to being dead, thinking, oh God, I wish I was there already. No, we're enjoying the journey, okay? We think life is about the journey, and life is the journey. Okay, it's not about the journey, life is the fucking journey. So when you bear that in mind, it's so much easier then to adopt the approach which is most important, which is to just establish your desired outcome, But then forget it. Once you know what you need to achieve objective-wise in order to get your outcome, you don't need to think about your outcome again unless you reevaluate and your constructed reality changes. So if you receive new information that suggests that actually you love your reality to be this instead, then you go through the process again. It's simple, so easy. So many people make the mistake of fixing one goal in mind, even after things change in their life and things become more complicated in life. And, they might have a complete change of heart or change of mind, 180 to what they started out with in their goal. But they're so indoctrinated and convinced by other people that, once you set a goal, you have to keep thinking about the goal and you have to keep your eyes on the goal. No, it's the journey that you take to get there that's important. So where this video is important is just establishing that connection, in as much as your desired outcome is just that. It's the outcome that you want, right? It's how you get there. That's what life is about. And it's the process of getting there that you need to enjoy. You need to think about enjoying, because it's a case of, how could I enjoy this? That's the outcome. That's great. That's all shiny. But how could I enjoy this, getting to this objective? What can I do to celebrate when I get there? Right? What project can I do that would make me come alive, knowing that it's taking me one step closer to my desired outcome? Right? But you don't have to focus any energy or effort on the outcome constantly. You don't have to do that. Because when you do, you get so fixated with it that it ceases to be compelling and it ceases to be motivating enough. Right? Because it's important to be able to set an outcome that makes you come alive when you think about it, but also to establish objectives that make you come alive when you think about them. It's the process, it's the journey that's important. And the projects that you want to do, that you want to complete in order to reach the objective to get you to the outcome. If you can create such compelling projects every single day or every single week, however long it takes you, that make you come alive in the same way as your outcome does when you think about that to start it all off, you are on for a surefire hell of a ride towards achieving your outcome and getting there quicker than you think. So, like I said, this video is kind of piecing things together for you. And it may sound kind of convoluted, but if you watch it again and just piece it together, keep pausing it after different things and then putting it all together and thinking about it in relation to your life and what is true for you, then it will make sense. It will make so much more sense. Because the basics of it is that so many people are living an illusion of reality that is not their own. Okay? And it comes back to being self-aware, so being aware, so having that awareness and that perspective on the world and that perception of what is real for you. It's crucial. They are all crucial elements. And I've spoken at length about the three of them, and they are the foundational elements of this. So bear that in mind as we do this. So it's so important to understand that if you might be a fan of somebody's work, you might be a huge fan of them as a person, but just because they believe the world is a certain way doesn't mean to say that it is for you. And so many people I see, and this is what compelled me to produce this video, is the fact that so many people make that mistake even now in setting goals and creating, their version of reality is the same as whoever's, because, well, they're awesome and they should know. Doesn't work that way. It is what is true for you. Okay, so, and like I said in the previous video where we talked about this in detail, is the fact that we live in an illusion of what we think reality is for us. So we get to construct it, hence the term mental construct, where we get to create the illusion of reality that we want to live. Right? So it is all an illusion. That's all it is. It can change at any moment, and we can be the ones to change it. That's the key. So when you really get that on board and you really understand that, life becomes so much easier. Life becomes so much more simplistic and fun. More importantly, you get to enjoy it a hell of a lot more. Because if you start a process where you are creating your ideal version of how you want life to be, then everything else fills itself in. So you start with that. So you start from your true core self in creating a version of reality that you want to live. And then you set your objective based on that, your outcome based on that. Your objectives will often take care of themselves, and so will your projects. They will come to you in what you might now consider to be flashes of brilliance or inspiration, but are in fact natural side effects of knowing who you really are and establishing a version, an illusion of reality that you really want to live, and setting an an outcome accordingly. When you are in that situation, when you have that nailed, the objectives, the things you need to accomplish to get you to that outcome and to get you that outcome, they take care of themselves. And coming up with the projects is no longer a chore. It's no longer work to think about, oh, well, what do I need to do today? What can I do today to get me there? Well, I could do this, but then, it doesn't happen like that anymore, because it's so compelling and motivating. A life, not just an outcome, but a fucking life, becomes so compelling and so amazingly, worthwhile, that when you create that mental construct of how you want to live your life and how you want your life to be, everything takes care of itself and it becomes so much simpler, and it doesn't ever feel like work. So, as I say, the importance of this and this putting this all together for you is to just help you understand a little bit more that you are the one with the control. And the funny thing is, control is not the right word. The illusion of control is actually what you have. But the illusion of control is actually a good thing, because it helps you to believe, it helps you to feel that you are the master of your own destiny. And you are. You get to create what you want to see. You get to create what you want to experience in the world. So even though being in control is a bit of a fallacy, because no matter what you have right now, you feel in control of it every single day, it can be taken away like that. So when you understand that what you have is not control of any situation, you only have the illusion of control. If you start out with that mindset, life becomes so much easier, because you are not sideswiped by something happening to derail your plans. You are not taken by surprise when something unusual and unheard of occurs, right? Because you are prepared for it in your own way, because you understand that what you had was not control, but the illusion of control. Okay, so it's so important to recognize those things. And I know that may have slightly been confusing, but you really sit with it, you really understand it, and it will all come good. I promise you that it will all come clear to you. The more you sit with that idea, it will become more clear. Now, it's kind of deliberate the way that I did that, because so many people live life thinking that they have control over their destiny. Oh, I'm the master of my own destiny. I set my own goals. It's great for you. Well done. Thanks very much for coming. See you. But when you realize that, those people inevitably will be derailed so easily by the least little bump in the road, by the smallest, tiniest little pebble on the road, will potentially derail their plans, derail their progress towards their goal, which is not their goal at all. Because it goes right back to where we started, which was the fact that their illusion of reality is not often their illusion of reality. It's the illusion of reality they've been sold. So that's an important thing to notice, is the fact that you get to create your own version of what you want to be real. So your own version of your illusion of reality. And when you do that, again, it becomes so much more easy for you to achieve your desired outcome. And the progress, the process, and the journey becomes so much more enjoyable and so much more fun. So I just wanted to record this video just to put those couple of pieces together to just help you understand how they interact, because they do all interact. So to just recap, I know I've rambled on a little bit, but to recap, if you're establishing a construct, a mental construct of what you want reality to be like for you, based on the opinion of other people, then the chances of you actually achieving your outcomes and your goals is greatly reduced, number one. And the fact is that they're never your goals anyway. Because when you live from an illusion of reality that is not yours, you will only set goals that are somebody else's, because you are sold that version of reality. And you set goals from that place, you're only ever achieving goals for that person or whoever that is relevant for. And if that's relevant for you, if you're one in a million people that actually do have the same view on reality and actually share exactly the same version of reality as X person, great, fantastic, good for you. But the chances are you are not. So you need to be in a situation where you are always thinking about not the goal or the outcome, but is this true for me with regards to your interpretation and your illusion of what you want to believe reality is for you. So when you do that, you can then set really compelling outcomes. And it becomes so much easier and so much more fun and enjoyable a process from getting where you are to where you want to be. That is just crazy. It's phenomenal, and it takes a lot of people by surprise, and especially if you've been run down or put upon for so many years, or that's your interpretation at least. It doesn't seem to be real, but it really is. And it can be as easy as you want it to be. So when you establish a mental construct of how you want your reality to be, you get to set desired outcomes and goals from a genuine, centered place, which are yours and are applicable to you and effective for you. And once you set them, you can establish the objectives that you need to accomplish in order to get there. Then you can forget about the outcome, because it will take care of itself as you move along the journey. As you establish the projects do not become a chore. They are something that you cannot wait to do. You wake up empowered, inspired, motivated every single morning with your entire being singing at the prospect of getting to live your life today. Right? Just because you have those projects that you know you want to do in order to reach those objectives, which will get you that outcome. So that's the importance I wanted to emphasize today with this video, and I hope it's been useful. I hope you've really understood and been able to cut through the mental chatter that's going on as I talk to you, because it's worth rewatching it. It's worth going through it again, because it really is critical, it really is crucial, and it's a lot to take in. It might seem like a lot to cover in 30 minutes, but honestly, it's worth it. If you really want to strip it back down, then replay it and pause it after every different section where we've talked about different things, and just sit with it. Let it ruminate. Just think about it for a moment and think about the truth of it. Because when you really understand that you're living in an illusion of reality, and it's entirely up to you as to whether you continue living in someone else's illusion of what reality is, or you create your own piece by piece. And we talked about deconstructing the false ones and reconstructing and replacing with your own personal ones. That's in a previous video. I'll go into detail on that there. But yeah, once you really start the process of creating your own interpretation of reality for you, everything takes care of itself. It all slots into place neatly. Doesn't mean you don't have to do anything. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is that it becomes so easy and so effortless that it doesn't feel like you have to do anything. All right, so I'm going to leave it there. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been useful. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel for more information and more great content, and drop us a like and thumbs up. And I will see you again very soon in the next one.